I had spent 2 hours getting ready. The red dress, the earrings he once said made me look like I belonged somewhere expensive. I was at the anniversary dinner he had planned. The dinner I thought might finally be the night he proposed. Then my phone lit up, and everything I thought I knew collapsed in a single voicemail. This is what happened. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years. 4 years of shared grocery lists and inside jokes and weekend routines that felt to me like the architecture of a life being built. We moved in together after year 2, a 2-bedroom in the kind of neighborhood that was just starting to be called up and coming. Daniel had a good job, a wide social circle, and a way of walking into a room that made people turn their heads. He was the kind of man who remembered your coffee order and your mother's birthday. Attentive, thoughtful, present, or so it appeared. Looking back, I can identify the inconsistencies, but only in hindsight, the way you always do. A business trip that extended without warning, a password changed on a Tuesday for no reason he could name, a weeknight when he came home 2 hours late, smelling like cologne he didn't own, and explained it so smoothly, I almost didn't notice the explanation was too smooth. I noticed. I filed it away. And I told myself I was being paranoid because Daniel had never given me a real reason to doubt him, not one I could put my hands on. 3 months before the anniversary, I had been offered a position at a firm in another city, a significant step, a different life. I turned it down. I told the recruiter I had reasons to stay. I told myself those reasons had a future. Then Daniel proposed. Not marriage, but the anniversary dinner, a surprise reservation, a nice restaurant. He texted me the address and said, "Dress up." I thought, this is it. I bought the red dress that afternoon. The restaurant was everything Daniel had promised. Candlelight, a corner table, a menu without prices on the version handed to me. He ordered wine with confidence, the way he did everything, and I watched him across the table and thought about how much I loved the particular way he made me feel chosen. But he was distracted. Not obviously, not to a stranger watching from across the room. But I had spent 4 years learning his face, and I could see it. The way his eyes tracked movement at the edge of his vision, the way his right hand kept drifting toward his lap, where his phone was. I noticed. I filed it away. Again. 40 minutes into dinner, Daniel excused himself to use the restroom, and my phone buzzed. I assumed it was my sister. I picked it up. The name on the screen was a single letter, L. The message was a voice note, 34 seconds. I almost didn't play it. I told myself later that something in me knew, something deeper than logic, and that was why my thumb hovered for just a moment before pressing play. It was Daniel's voice, whispering, the particular softness of voice used in private when the speaker believes no one else is listening. He was telling someone he loved her, that he couldn't wait to see her that night. He asked her to wear the blue dress. I looked down at my own dress, red, a dress I had bought that afternoon because he told me to dress up. I had never owned a blue dress. I set the phone face down on the table, folded my hands, breathed. When Daniel returned, I smiled, asked him how the risotto compared to the place we'd gone for my birthday 2 years ago. He laughed and said, "This one was better." I agreed. We clinked glasses. When the dessert menus arrived and Daniel became absorbed in debating between 2 options, I reached across the table and picked up his phone. His passcode had been the same for 3 years, my birthday. I typed it in. It still worked. The conversation thread with Lauren went back 14 months. I scrolled, I read, I stayed very still. There were messages about weekends away Daniel had described to me as work conferences. There was an address, an apartment lease. There was a message from 4 months ago where Daniel told Lauren he was planning to end things with me. Had been planning it, the thread suggested. For 8 months, had been about to for 8 months. I opened my own phone, took screenshots, 14 months of evidence, methodical and thorough, put Daniel's phone back exactly where I'd found it, smiled when he looked up and said the chocolate souffle was supposed to be excellent, then order it. I said, "Tonight should be special." While Daniel was dissecting the structural genius of a souffle, I excused myself. "Just freshening up," I said. I touched his shoulder as I passed. He didn't look up from the menu. In the restroom, I opened my contacts. Daniel's mother, his sister Priya, his best friend Marcus. My own family group chat, 7 people, who had attended 4 years of dinners and holidays and birthday parties, where Daniel had been charming and present and good. I forwarded the screenshots to every one of them with a single line of text. "You should know who Daniel really is." I washed my hands, checked my earrings in the mirror, walked back to the table. The souffle had arrived. It was, as promised, excellent. I ate half of it. I let Daniel pay the bill without protest. The full bill, including the wine, including the souffle, including the corner table he'd reserved to set the stage for a version of the night that was never going to happen. Outside on the sidewalk, I turned to face him. My voice was calm, even the voice of someone who has already made every decision that matters. "I know about Lauren, I know about the apartment, I know you've been telling her you were about to leave me for 8 months, and I know that tonight you sent her a voice note while you were sitting across from me." I paused. "I forwarded everything to everyone you care about. Goodbye, Daniel." I got into the cab. Behind me on the sidewalk, his phone began to light up. Daniel called 47 times that night. I blocked him after the 3rd. His mother called me the following morning to apologize. Not for Daniel, she said, but to me, because I deserved to hear it from someone in that family. His sister Priya stopped speaking to him. His best friend Marcus sent a single message. I had no idea. "I'm sorry." Lauren, for her part, found out she hadn't been the only one either. There was a 3rd woman, someone Daniel had been seeing through his gym, overlapping with Lauren by nearly 5 months. The geometry of his deception, once mapped, was almost architectural in its scale. I took the job. I gave notice, packed 2 suitcases, and moved to the other city 2 weeks later. 6 months after that, a mutual friend passed along a quiet piece of news. Daniel's lease on Lauren's apartment had collapsed. He'd moved back in with his parents at 34. When the friend relayed this, waiting for my reaction, I gave them one. "Tell him," I said, "every secret has a price." What I did at that table, the patience, the stillness, the decision to let the truth do the work instead of performing my own pain, that's not a small thing. Most people in that moment would have broken. I didn't. And because I didn't, Daniel had nowhere to hide. There's a kind of self-respect that doesn't need an audience. I had it that night. Now, the verdict is yours. Was I right to stay silent and plan? Or should I have confronted him right there at the table? Drop your verdict in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hit you, subscribe to Exposed and Delivered and turn on notifications. New stories drop every week because every secret has a price.